I'm Andre Huey, and welcome to this edition of the SKN Newsline Newscast. Premier Mark Brantley is urging divisions to take the COVID-19 pandemic seriously. SKN Newsline's Glenn Bart tells us more.
Over the past weeks and months, Nevis's Premier Mark Brantley has been beseeching Nevisians to protect themselves against COVID-19 by getting vaccinated. But the Nevision leader said many Nevisians have not been taking the pandemic seriously. He lamented the uncaring behavior of some persons, the resistance to looking beyond personal rights when a highly contagious disease is taking lives the world over. According to Premier Brantley, there could be no more potent wake-up call for Nevisians than the community spread now taking place on St. Kitts, and because of the implications it has for Nevis.
I'm no prophet, I'm no soothsayer. But there are some things which logic suggests to you are likely to happen if our people continue to behave in a fashion that they don't care, they can't be bothered, or wrap themselves in a cocoon of denial to say that somehow this can't happen here. Our people did not take this seriously. And here we are now, 74 cases in less than a month. With only every day we're hearing about new cases. In the last 2 days alone, we had 25 additional cases on St. Kitts. And yet our people continue to slumber. You know what I'm hearing divisions now telling me? Oh, COVID only there, St. Kitts. Let them stop down there. None there, Nevis. Well, I'm here tonight to say to you and to say to all of us that COVID, because of its nature, I don't think that we should be saying if, I think we should be saying when COVID comes. Let me repeat. Nevisians, residents of Nevis, I do not think at this point we should be saying if COVID comes. I believe we should be saying when it comes. Because I think that it is inevitable that it will come.
As of Wednesday 9th June, Nevis recorded only 14 imported cases of COVID-19, with the last positive case identified on the 16th of March 2021. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
Are there any political implications on St. Kitts and Nevis 54 years after the 1967 attempted coup? June 10th marks the date that incident happened, but as you hear in this report, there are differences of opinion on the impact of the series of events on that notable day in history. Today, June 10th, marks 54 years of a failed coup attempt on the Robert Bradshaw Labour Party administration. On June 10, 1967, some men from Anguilla arrived on the shores of St. Kitts to overthrow the government as a means of protest against the leadership of the statehood of St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla due to poor living conditions on Anguilla. But does this incident, which happened over half a century ago, have any bearing on the political and social construct of the St. Kitts Nevis society today? Opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas seems to think so. He believes this was the beginning of political division in the country.
Because I think it culminated to a large extent in what continues to be a division in the country. Not just political division, but to some extent, maybe, I would say class division. I would not say race, because 99% we are of one race, but class. And that is why, to some extent, the labor movement over the years, the labor government over the years, in attempting to break down those barriers, the class barriers. That is why I said what I said earlier at the beginning of this interview. I am proud of what has been achieved for the 20 years that I was there as the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, because I believe strongly, from within my heart, I believe that we made significant progress in the breaking down of those class barriers, where every single child, once you attain the age of 11 plus, you move into a high school where you can go on to university University is no longer the yearning of a few. It is the yearning of the majority of our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. That is why I say that it is the class structure that to some extent these guys try to re-entrench. But God Almighty allowed it to fail. And so we are now further on the path of breaking down those class barriers.
But for social and political commentator Dwyer Astafan, people today are not that concerned about what happened so many years ago. He said, while we should not forget that part of our history, there is little social and political impact of that attempted coup on St. Kitts and Nevis.
When Anguilla did what they did, the English sent in some policemen there. It was a little bit of a joke. Anguilla finally got separated. The English made sure that happened. They held on to it as an overseas territory because that was one of their tax havens. They had no longer any use for countries like St. Kitts and the sugar producers and banana producers and that sort of thing. So that in itself is a political implication because the three-island arrangement was broken up. Nevis in the 1970s were preaching. In fact, the NRP was built on secession. NRP, I think, was founded in 1970, just 3 years after the 10th of June. And their main, if not only plank, was independence for Nevis. In the 1990s, Mr. Amory led an attempt to secede from the Federation in terms of the local politics. When I say local, each island and the federal politics and all kinds of things like that. I don't think that features in people's minds. And let's be honest about it. People are not particularly, especially in this day and age of materialism and instant gratification, people are not particularly concerned with what happened 54 years ago. It only becomes painful to you if something happens again. And that is why we must never forget things,
Mr. Astafan described his memory of the dramatic series of events in 1967.
I was at a dance at the factory center. And I heard the gunfire, the automatic gunfire. I was sitting next to Mr. Southwell's son at the factory center when I saw the muzzle of a gun come through at the back of the bar through a louver pointing in our direction. I took up my guys who were with me. We took our car and we went to Connery, where we hung out with some guys over there who were renting one of the beach bungalows, and we slept there the night. I called my father. He said, town is a lot of nonsense going on, don't come. We are okay, we're staying in the house. And so we went. The next morning I came into town. There was a pall. I mean, you could feel the weight of stress and tension and fear. And when I was coming down to Church Street to my home, I saw this face. I saw somebody appear on that street. And I'll never forget the look on his face. That person is now deceased. I'll never forget the look on his face. And that impact that was made on me was made before I really had gotten a full understanding of what had happened.
The history of the lead-up to that attempted coup in 1967 is aptly described in a book, Anguilla's Battle for Freedom, 1967 to 1969. I'm Andre Huey, reporting for SKN Newsline. When we come back, Dr. Wilkinson addresses concern that persons feel bullied to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Elliott's Funeral Parlor is the first licensed embalmer in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a friendly and professional staff. At Elliott's Funeral Parlor, we offer a wide range of packages from $6,500, homegoing service at chapel, locally made caskets, tailoring of outfit for deceased of your choice, wake, overnight with slideshow, funeral, death announcement, obituary, booklets, family pin-ons, memorial books, preparation of funeral arrangements, wreath, fresh and artificial. For further information, call 469-3298, 664-2007, or 660-0186. Elliott's Funeral Parlor in Gingerland, Nevis. Dedicated to those we serve.
I need some veggies for dinner. me just check the amount of sodium in this can. Oh no, this is too much. Let me try our next option. They did say it's healthy to consume less salt. This is much better. I am salt smart.
Football is back, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association will be bringing you live football on its website, www.sknfa.com, with Premier League Live. Without fans in the stadium due to COVID-19 protocols, you can now watch every single Premier League match this season on www.sknfa.com and click on Live TV. Games are shown live on every match day with halftime and post-game shows. It's Premier League Live. Commentary, analysis, action. Never miss a game.
Bless up, Dejo here, and I'm doing my part in the fight against COVID-19 by following all safety protocols and, most importantly, rolling up my sleeve for the vaccine. So I'm encouraging you to do the same, because that's our best shot of protecting ourselves, our family, and our friends. So don't wait, vaccinate. Let's roll up to roll out.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one. Welcome back. While people are open towards taking the COVID-19 vaccine, there are some who feel bullied by the authorities for not wanting to take the jab. The Medical Chief of Staff talks on this issue. Glenn Bart has more.
The issue of reaching herd immunity in St. Kitts and Nevis is not just about trying to normalize economic activity, but it's also about protecting those persons who cannot be vaccinated, said Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, the Medical Chief of Staff at the JNF General Hospital. Dr. Wilkinson was speaking during an edition of Leadership Matters on the 8th of June 2021. Amidst some claims that health officials are stigmatizing persons who do not want to take the vaccine, the Medical Chief of Staff clarified his position on this issue.
I want to end by reassuring again the unvaccinated, as I did a couple of days ago. Our fight has never been against the unvaccinated. We have been fighting for the unvaccinated since the start. We have been fighting for our school children, all who are unvaccinated. We have been fighting for the pregnant mothers with their unborn children, who are all unvaccinated. We have been fighting for the elderly and frail, many of whom are unvaccinated. We have been fighting for the 30% of the population below the age of 18 who are all unvaccinated. The fight to reach herd immunity is a fight to protect the unvaccinated in our community. What we are fighting for is to have a significant proportion of the population vaccinated to protect those who cannot be vaccinated. Everyone, as I said before, deserves a fighting chance and a lifetime. Those who cannot be vaccinated can be given this fighting chance and the opportunity of a lifetime by you who can be vaccinated going forward and getting vaccinated to protect them.
Meanwhile, obtaining additional vaccines for the immunization program continues to be a public health priority, and officials urge citizens to take the vaccine that is available to them. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
Child Month 2021 has taken on a new feel and thrust as the nation is in the throes of community spread of the coronavirus. More in this report. When we come back, regional news. Wash hands and a mask on everyone. Keep your distance. Child Month 2021. That's the theme of this year's Child Month activities. Minister of Education Jonel Powell used his feature address to highlight some of the recent achievements of the Early Childhood Unit, while also announcing a change in regular Child Month activities.
Let me share with you just a few of the many recent achievements within the early childhood sector of our Federation. 1. The early childhood sector took a leading role in the successful formulation and execution of procedures to reopen public and private facilities in September 2020. The Early Childhood Development Unit spearheaded a project to educate all public supervisors, private proprietors, and all early childhood workers of the COVID-19 health and safety protocols and related regulations for service within the sector. An additional component of this project was the targeted capacity building of early childhood supervisors, teachers, and parents.
The Minister of Education also highlighted the literacy development activity, which was completed in Nevis to support parents faced with lockdowns due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This activity helped parents to use interactive read-aloud, puppetry, and storytelling experiences to stimulate their young children's learning. Across the Federation, 64 nursery caregivers in both home-based and center-based facilities received training that focused on the development of knowledge and skills in health, hygiene, and safety concerns. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline. When we come back, regional news.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
You know, it's me, Mr. HE, and I'm here with one message: roll up to roll out. We all know how difficult things have been during this COVID-19 pandemic. While we continue to wash our hands, wear a face mask, and practice social distancing, how about we take it one step further and get vaccinated? Call the nearest health center to find out if you are eligible to be vaccinated, or you can contact the Ministry of Health at any one of these numbers down below. Don't be discouraged by the negativity. We all have a role to play in protecting this federation. So, St. Kitts and Nevis, let's roll up to roll out.
Stay abreast with news on St. Martin with SMN News. Visit www.smn-news.com for up-to-date news, scoops, opinions, and hard-hitting facts. SMN News, we tell it like it is. Visit our website www.smn-news.com.
It's the new and improved SKN Newsline Android mobile app. With the SKN Newsline app, you can watch our news reports, the SKN Newsline Newscast, sports, special features, and so much more. You can also send us a WhatsApp or call us directly. Go in the Google Play Store, search SKN Newsline, and download the app today. The SKN Newsline mobile app. News on the go.
Junior, can I get popcorn, please? Don't tell Shane, Dev. Want some to plead? I can get some salt. More, please. Boy, take a pack from Junie.
Welcome back. The court in Grenada has made it possible for a lawsuit against the government filed by the Grenada Bar Association to proceed. The government is being challenged for its continued neglect of the judicial system and supporting services which the association contends is in breach of the Constitution. More from GBN News in Grenada.
The suit, which was first filed in July 2019 by the Grenada Bar Association, then led by Attorney-at-Law Lisa Taylor, is contending that government is in breach of the Constitution for its continued failure to provide the necessary apparatus for the efficient and timely administration of justice. Counsel on the matter and now current president of the Grenada Bar Association, James Bristol, says the association is tasked under the Legal Profession Act to ensure the due administration of justice. The suit seeks to get the association to represent the interests of all the people who may come before the court, whether in a civil or criminal matter.
It's what you call a representative proceeding. It's like almost like what they call a class action suit in America. So one person represents the interests of everyone. So if those interests are the same or similar, so you don't have everybody having to go to court and arguing the same point again and again, which wastes time and money and resources.
Bristol says the court granted the application last week, whereby the Bar Association can now formally represent all litigants. No proper court facilities, inadequate buildings, staff, and insufficient judges, which have resulted in a backlog of criminal and civil cases, as well as the untimely administration of justice, are the rationale for the suit.
And what's really serious is in the criminal cases, people are innocent until proven guilty. If someone is locked up and not on bail, or is on remand awaiting trial for an excessive period, this could be tantamount to an infringement of their human rights. So it's very important to bring these matters, before the court for determination whether the government is failing in its duty to ensure under the Constitution fair trial. The fair trial rights are embodied in Section 8 of the Constitution.
The GBA president, who has served in the past as Attorney General, highlights the importance of such a suit.
I think it does put a little extra pressure. I mean, it's subject to appeal, of course, but it does put pressure because it means that everybody in Grenada is on board with us. And everybody in Grenada is comforted that they can exert together with us the pressure that is required to cause change, because the more the merrier. And I think it's a major step. It's the first decision of its kind that I'm aware of, certainly in Grenada, but I think in the OECS for sure, of a bar association being appointed in a representative capacity.
He says the association, which has been having discussions with Attorney General Dia Forrester, is however hoping that the issues can be resolved before they go to court. The Attorney-at-Law says the background to the suit dates back to the last 30 years, despite the change of political parties, as government has remained the same. I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.
Disturbing findings now about the prevalence of mental illness cases among children. A report from the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, shows that Jamaica is far outside international standards in addressing mental health issues in children. Television Jamaica reports.
The latest findings by the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, show that of Jamaica's 800,000 children, approximately 20% have a mental disorder and 5% or 40,000 children have some serious mental disorders.
Other studies have told us that of adolescents, just over 1,000 adolescents, approximately 15% display depression and anxiety symptoms. Another survey in 2019 assessed broader indicators of emotional and mental well-being, showed that 45% of adolescents had consistently experienced anxiety symptoms ranging from feelings of nervousness, restlessness, worry, and annoyance.
On Tuesday, CAPRI launched the Mind the Gap, the Inadequacy of Mental Health Services for Children report, which also shows 60% of children in state care developed psychosocial problems. Director of Research, Dr. Diana Thorburn, says 76% of children in the criminal justice system show maladaptive behaviors. CAPRI says only 8% of children's mental health needs are being met. The report also pointed to a major deficit of child mental health professionals. There's one child psychiatrist to every 267,000 children with mental problems.
There are three other general psychiatrists who have received additional training in child and adolescent psychiatry, but who have not received the certifications to be formally classified as child and adolescent psychiatrists. There are approximately 94 practicing psychologists and counselors in Jamaica and 28 psychiatrists overall. Of this number, based on our research, only 12 clinicians provide services predominantly for children. 6 psychiatrists, 12 clinicians for 160,000 children. This is a wide gap.
There are 23 child guidance clinics across the island which see 8,000 children annually. The report says this is substantially lower than the estimated 160,000 children who need psychosocial care.
Further, the child guidance clinics have challenges in responding adequately to demand, with chronic staff deficiencies reducing the possibility of successful outcomes for the children who do access their services. The opening hours are inconvenient, there are long waiting lists, and low client retention. Children outside of the KSA and St. Catherine area have less access to these and other services. There are other services available which we have factored into our tally, but these do little to put a dent in the shortage of services available.
Director of Child and Adolescent Mental Health at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Judith Leiber, says the resources devoted to addressing mental health issues in children are inadequate, but the ministry has tried other initiatives to help reach out to affected children.
But in recent years, the ministry has really stressed mental health by the initiation of our helpline, Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Helpline, open to all ages, the establishment or initiation of a destigmatization public relations project, which should redound to the good of all our children and adolescents who suffer from these disorders.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Internationally, Chinese health officials are on high alert amid an outbreak of new COVID-19 cases in its southern Guangdong province. Strict travel restrictions have been imposed as mass testing is being ramped up, but many patients are already received at least one dose of Chinese COVID-19 vaccine, raising questions about their efficacy. More from Al Jazeera.
Strict lockdowns of infected neighborhoods, travel restrictions, and the mass testing of entire cities. Chinese authorities have returned to the pandemic control strategies of last year as the southern province of Guangdong, home to 120 million, battles the country's most serious outbreak in months.
It's essential to take the most resolute, the most decisive, and the strictest measures to control gatherings and the travels in high-risk areas to block the spread of the epidemic.
Dozens have tested positive with the Delta variant of COVID-19, a highly contagious form of the virus first detected in India. 30 million people in the region have been tested since May. Police have detained 6 people for breaking virus prevention rules. Officials say the outbreak has been traced back to a woman living in the provincial capital, Guangzhou. Food and entertainment venues there have been ordered to close. Those wanting to leave the city must produce negative virus tests taken within 48 hours. The neighboring cities of Shenzhen, Foshan and Maoming are also on high alert. Experts say it's the first local test of Chinese vaccine efficacy. Concerns were raised after port workers who were already vaccinated caught the virus.
The virus keeps evolving, so the older versions of the vaccine are maybe not very effective for this new strain. But we are not saying the vaccine is useless against the Indian strain. None of the infected people became seriously ill. The protection isn't perfect, but you can't say they are not working.
In Bahrain, a new wave of infections has prompted authorities to offer booster shots of the Pfizer vaccine to some who have already received 2 doses of China's Sinopharm jab. Vaccines by Sinopharm and Sinovac have been approved by the WHO. Chinese regulators have given 5 vaccines the green light locally. Children as young as 3 can now receive jabs in emergency circumstances. 800 million doses have been administered nationwide so far. Elsewhere in China, it's business as usual, except for international travel. China's borders remain mostly closed to foreigners. Beijing is under pressure to vaccinate most of the population and ease restrictions before the beginning of the Winter Olympics next February. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Thousands of people in the Democratic Republic of Congo are being displaced after a volcanic eruption last month destroyed their homes. They're living in tough conditions in makeshift camps where aid agencies say the risk of malaria and cholera is fast rising. Al Jazeera's Priyanka Gupta reports.
When Mount Nyiragongo erupted last month, Veronica ran with her 2 children. She carried a few pots so she could feed them. But food in this makeshift shack is hard to come by, and they have no home to return to. Lava destroyed all they had. Their small tent here barely protects them from rain and illness.
We live in misery. I don't eat, and I have a stomach ache that hurts a lot every day. When I don't know what to eat, sometimes I drink water. Today, I didn't eat anything.
And there are thousands like them, scrambling for food with no toilets or drinking water.
We see a lot of diseases linked to the water that is not of good quality, including diarrhea diseases and often a lot of malaria too. We see many respiratory infections. You have to know that the living conditions are a big part of the situation.
Around 3,500 people lost their homes when Mount Nyiragongo erupted last month. The government says they must remain in shelters outside the city of Goma, while others whose homes still stand are slowly returning.
Those whose houses were burned and destroyed have to stay and wait for the government contingency plan, because we cannot allow them to return to their natural environment that was burned and destroyed by the lava. And as a responsible government, we cannot ask them to rebuild houses.
But even in Goma, the volcanic eruption has melted main water pipes and damaged a major reservoir. Aid agencies and the government are working to provide emergency water supplies. But for now, life remains precarious for the families here as they try to survive hunger and disease under the shadow of one of Africa's most dangerous volcanoes. Priyanka Gupta, Al Jazeera.
In sports, the Sugar Boys are ready to do battle with El Salvador on Saturday at the Warner Park in the next round of World Cup qualifiers. In this report, coach Leo Nieva explains why the team suffered a 2-0 loss at Trinidad and Tobago and the importance of Saturday's match. The St. Kitts Nevis national senior men's team is gearing up for their match against El Salvador in the next round of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying action. The Sugar Boys ended the previous round in fine style, winning 3 of their 4 matches and conceding only 2 goals. Though losing their latest match to Trinidad and Tobago, the team did enough to be one of the first teams to qualify for the next round, scoring 8 goals in all matches in the process. Coach Leo Nieva admitted that the loss to Trinidad was due in part to changes he made to the team, replacing some of the first-team players to avoid any possible suspensions for the El Salvador match. Players like Keithroy Freeman, goalkeeper Jelani Archibald, and Thrizen Leader were replaced because they got yellow cards in their match against Guyana last week. If they had picked up yellow cards in the Trinidad match, they would have automatically been suspended for their next game against El Salvador. Coach Nieva opted for the younger, promising players instead, which gave them valuable experience.
Specifically about the game, Trinidad and Tobago, they play better than us. They impose themselves physically and technically. They deserve the win, but also, it was a good exercise for us because it's the first time that the opponent score against us, and then we can use 2-3 different tactical formation to test. Also, we still give opportunities for every single player. So this game against Trinidad and Tobago came like a excellent training for us.
He is anticipating the matchup against El Salvador.
In terms of football, we hope a beautiful and good game because, you know, El Salvador, they have a different style of football, completely different of Trinidad and Tobago, of Guyana. They are from Central America. They try play beautiful football, quickly football, you know, keep the ball on the ground like a South American football. Also is good for us because I have shown now that St. Kitts and Nevis, we are changing a little, step by step, our style, and then we come into play also more beautiful. So we hope we win. You know, we believe that, and I hope next week we have very good news for all the country.
St. Kitts and Nevis will play El Salvador in a home and away series, the home match being Saturday at 4 p.m. at the Warner Park. The return leg will be played on Tuesday, June 15th. With favorable results, St. Kitts and Nevis would progress to the final round of FIFA World Cup qualifying action, the Octagon stage, which already has 5 teams awaiting the 3 winners of this round. Those 5 teams are Costa Rica, the USA, Jamaica, Mexico, and Honduras.
This has been the SKN Newsline newscast on Channel 95 and on our social media networks. I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching. For more news, visit our website at www.sknewsline.com.